Hello, this is Theron with Brooks and Flicks. This stream that we did, number three, is Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, and we were having some technical difficulties. So I'm going to see what I can do. There were some audio problems as well as the first part of the stream didn't end up. First part of the recording didn't end up actually getting onto the stream. So I'm going to rectify that situation and upload this video. Um, and then you can watch the thing in its entirety. However, the audio does have some problems. My mic was echoing something fierce. Now I've got it fixed up, so um, I will see what I can do to tone that down a little bit. But um, bear with it. The conversation's really good. I have two guests, Jessica and Chris, and so we had a really good some really good insights into the movie, and hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hey, this is Theron from Bricks and Flicks. Working off number three, Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. I got a couple of guests with me to discuss this movie. I got Chris in the upper left corner and Jessica in the upper right corner. Say hi, folks.
Hey, folks.
Hey everyone.
All right, awesome. So, I am going to be putting together the Queen Anne's Revenge. It is a 1097 piece ship. It is pretty cool. It's from the fourth movie, but I don't have any of the uh, pirate ships or anything from the other ones. I missed out on the Black Pearl, unfortunately. So we're discussing the movie while I'm doing this, and luckily for me, I've got them all set up. Now, I got a question for you guys. Do you think I should do an
Yeah.
ASMR and build
Hey, why
Lego?
not, man? I've seen weirder things on the internet.
I mean, it's you got the pieces dropping in. Of course, I can't narrate what's going on because that's not ASMR. It's I could whisper.
You at least have to whisper if you're going to.
I could whisper it. Yeah, that's just creepy though.
I know, I kind of
Oh,
liked it. Keep going.
So the movie that we're discussing tonight is Pirates of the Caribbean.
So when's the last time that either of you watched the movie?
I put it on just before the stream while I was getting ready. But I watched all four of the movies probably just a couple of weeks ago. I just put one in run right after the other while I was working around the house.
Oh, so you were already queued up for when I gave you a list
Yeah.
of things to watch. Well, that's cool. I watched
Yeah.
it 2 nights ago, uh, twice, and 4 nights ago once, and then started watching the commentary this morning, but I got too busy. Had to go do some running around some errands. How about you?
I have it digitally, and I don't have the commentary. I'd love to watch the commentary, though, but
That's what I was
it's
just
been one
thinking.
of my favorites for years. So I've watched
Hmm.
it every bit of a dozen times, and I've watched it twice within the last week.
Well,
So
if you
just
want,
a
we can always get you to watch the. Oh no, you know what? I'll tell you what. This stupid thing. It's I just have the DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray of it. But the DVD. This
Mhm.
came out when they were creating DVDs that had exe files on them that you had
Oh,
to
really?
watch the DVD using their software and trying to run it with any other software. The disk drive just spins and spins because it can't read the disk. So
That's
I
old
didn't feel
school.
like installing it today. So kind of a pain. All right, got our little ASMR going. So bunch of pieces. So this movie came out in 2003. Um, where I I think I saw it in the theater. I can't guarantee, but I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theater with my wife. Um, but uh, it ended up at the box office apparently doing quite well. 654 million at the box office. So not too bad for 2003.
No.
Not too shabby.
I didn't know this, but I was researching and found that this role of Jack Sparrow was actually written for Hugh Jackman.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I actually heard that vaguely. It sounds vaguely familiar.
The problem they had was Hugh Jackman wasn't well known. He had just done X-Men. I believe, what was it, 2002, was it? X-Men came out? 2000? I don't know. But that's the only thing that, at the time that they were pitching the movie, even though it was written for him, they didn't think he could carry the movie yet.
Mm.
So they went for a more well-known actor. So that's how Johnny got it.
I think they made a good choice. I love Johnny Depp in the Pirates, in the Jack character.
Oh, he does a great job. Just spectacular.
Like it was made for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
really.
And the funny thing is, apparently they didn't like his original take on it. They didn't like what he was doing. They didn't like it's quite understandable, but the corporate guys obviously didn't understand this. They didn't know if he was quote drunk or gay, and I'm like, it's a character. I mean, he does a pretty good job, but and obviously you guys know that that he based the character off of Keith Richards,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So just perfect, like almost an homage to Keith Richards, just the way
What's
he
the-
acted.
What's the longest amount of time you've ever spent on a boat? Like in a single sitting? Have you been on a boat for like 24 or 48 hours?
Well, I did a Tiger cruise on an aircraft carrier, but the aircraft carrier is more like a floating city, so you don't really
Right.
feel a whole lot of it. So that was 3 days. But
When you're on a small boat and you're in the ocean for 24 or 48 hours, and then you step off, you walk like that.
Oh yeah,
Because
Yeah.
the ground, you're expecting it to move, so you sway. I thought it was a really good representation of the kind of disorientation you get walking on dry land.
yeah.
So we grew up with a 25-foot bayliner just in the St. Clair River and Anchor Bay, in the Lake St. Clair. And we would go out for a whole weekend. So we would leave Friday after my dad got home from work and come home Sunday evening for dinner. And yeah, like for 2 days, when you lay in your bed, the whole house just rocks.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. The more still you hold, the more movement you feel. So you
Mhm.
have to keep moving in order to not get nauseous.
Jen and I went on a cruise for our honeymoon, and unfortunately, the year we went, there was a pretty good hurricane that came through. So we were going around the hurricane, and our very last night we were drinking all day, and we were at the club at night, and we were just thinking we were drunk off our asses because we kept going like this and bumping into each other, and we couldn't figure out why as we're dancing. Turns out that we were going around the hurricane, the waves were making the ship go like this.
Oh man.
So then we realized, okay, well, we better head up and get packed because you have to have your bags packed and outside the door by midnight. So we get up there about 11:45. Jen goes straight to the bathroom and starts puking, and I'm sitting there with trying to keep from throwing up myself and packing all of our stuff and putting it out the door. But the next day we went to Disney. It was a cruise and then Disney, package. And yeah, I kept bouncing into every single one of the clothing racks. I couldn't stop. It was like a traction. It kept bumping into them all. And yeah, I understand exactly that as well. So I think he did a great job of wobbling.
Yeah.
he actually just said in his most recent stuff that's going on the stand, he actually said he made sure that he was wobblier on land. This isn't a quote, by the way, but wobblier on land than he was on the boat, on ships. That he would stand straighter, despite the fact that, everything was moving. He would try to stand straighter and not wobble as much. And then once he was on land, he was constantly wobbling because his sea
That's
legs.
dedication.
I
Yeah.
like that guy.
So another interesting tidbit that I hadn't known, and then we'll get into the movie itself. He actually had his teeth capped with gold. That's pretty much dedication for the role.
Yes,
Mm,
it
yeah.
is. I wondered what came first because I noticed they're still capped.
And his dentist actually has a credit in the end of the movie.
Nice.
That's funny.
So
I mean,
interesting
I guess
stuff you
credit where
find.
credit is due,
What was that?
huh? Credit where credit is due, huh?
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting some of the things you can find about the movie, and yeah, they thought that that Depp was going to tank the character and tank the movie, and he says, "You hired me. Do you trust me? If you don't, fire me. If you do trust me,
That's
let's get
fair.
on with it." So obviously, should have just trusted him from the get go, but
Yeah.
All right, so the opening scene, we have a foggy. I gotta figure out where I'm at here. We got a foggy sea, and we come up on Elizabeth singing some
The
yo ho
shanty.
yo ho that I'm not allowed to actually sing here. But she does say, "Drink up, ye hearties, yo ho," and then interesting, she says, "We kidnap and ravage. We don't give a hoot." That's young girl. What was she? 8 or 9.
Yep.
I was thinking about 10, so yeah.
Yeah, quite a violent thing to be singing along. And then the next line, "We extort, we pilfer, we filch, and we sack." And that's when Gibbs grabs her and says something that I thought was really interesting. This is the reason why I started talking about the very beginning. This is when you're starting a speech or a video, a stream, or anything online, anything that they always tell you, you have to put the hook in there so that people understand where you're going with what's going on. And I thought it was interesting because Gibbs first says, "Quiet, Missy. Cursed pirates sail these waters.
Right.
You don't want to bring them down on you, do you? But cursed
And then-
pirates, before we even knew they were cursed,
Right.
we just, in fact, even the whole beginning of the story starts out just the fact that it's out there, and you don't know that they're cursed necessarily, but through the course of it, you find out what happened. But you did get the hook, cursed pirates. So I thought that was kind of cool that Gibbs said that right away.
And right after that, Lieutenant James says something along the lines of, and I don't know if you have a quote in front of you, but he says something along the lines of, like, the pirates will get what's coming to them.
They'll get what they deserve. Yep.
And it's like a short drop with a
sudden stop. Yep.
Right.
And then Gibbs, Gibbs minds it.
Foreshadowing. Right. Because at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, that's exactly what you see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
good
caught
stuff.
that today when I was watching the first little bit of it when I was getting ready. I caught that today, and had never realized that he does the whole like mime thing, and then Elizabeth's face afterwards. She's just appalled, like, "Oh my gosh, is that what that means?"
It looks like we lost our stream. Let me see if it actually is. See if it actually comes up. No, it still says waiting for us. That's interesting. It was green earlier. Now I've got 14 minutes of recording already. I don't know if it's going to start up yet or not.
I pulled it up too just to see.
I guess between the problems I had last night and the problems I'm having tonight, I'm wondering what's going on. Maybe it doesn't like my setup.
But it's showing that you're recording.
Yeah, I'm recording it.
Oh,
It's going to start up.
yep. Okay, now I got to mute that. Pulled it up too just to see.
So now it's actually going. I guess between the problems I had last. Yeah, lots of fun. All right, so we started out already. Hey, there's Jen. All right, so now it is finally up and running. Now, if it doesn't go down on us again, well, don't want to say that too many times in stream. All right. So, and then Chris, you were just mentioning that Norrington was also brought up the short drop and sudden stop. And how that also was foreshadowing then the end of the movie. So we got something I thought was interesting. The next thing, when Elizabeth is looking out over and she sees the parasol, and then finds Will, and then they see the ship is on fire and in pieces, and Norrington says that he, is it Norrington? Maybe it was. I don't remember. Somebody said that it was usually the powder kegs that go off. But I thought it was interesting because later in the movie, when the Interceptor is being chased down by the Black Pearl, they get on board ship, the pirates do. They immediately go below decks, grab one of the powder kegs, spill it out Wile E. Coyote style, and light it, and then take off, which gives you a perfect understanding of what happened to the ship in the beginning. That it wasn't by accident that it blew up. That they were actually, that they were probably destroyed by the Black Pearl. But it's strange that they didn't find the medallion then. So is it because Will never hit the water? I mean, he looked like he was wet.
Oh.
He looked like he was wet, but he was lying on some boards.
Right.
Yeah.
But is there a depth that it occurs though? Because when Elizabeth falls into the water in the next 10 minutes or so, or 15, it doesn't go boom until after she's sunk down a bit. So is there a depth that it actually calls when it calls out?
I never caught that.
Or a period of time.
For a period of time.
Right. It's time release.
So, I don't know. It was just a thought some of those things that when you're watching it just for entertainment value, you don't necessarily think about the little things until you're like, oh, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm going to see if I can analyze this and see why they did what they did. And that was one of the things I thought was pretty cool, that they later on show the why it was blown up.
And I don't know what the symbolism is, or if there is any, but I thought it was interesting that the parasol comes up as often as it does from the very beginning right up to the end.
For
Yeah,
Rigetti
it's,
and Pintel.
Yeah. Yeah, hysterical. I think that the comic relief they provided is so typical of the banter that you see back and forth on like a job site. Everybody's got a couple of friends that are constantly goofing off like that and are slightly dumb, but in a charming kind of a way. And then to see them on the boat wearing the dress and holding the parasol over his shoulder, I thought that was a
and the
hysterical choice.
yoo-hoo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Beautifully done.
And the fact that they had the parasol there, that's another thing that basically states right out that it was the Black Pearl that destroyed the ship, because it's just too much of a coincidence to have that parasol there. You
Right.
knew that Rigetti definitely had it out, and must have just lost it, or somebody insisted that he throw it overboard or something. But yeah, it's definitely some interesting foreshadowing. So then, Elizabeth's father, the governor, tells her to take care of Will, and she finds the medallion, the Aztec gold coin, and it's on a rope around his neck, and she's holding onto it and looking at it, and then Norrington comes up behind her, and somehow the rope disappears because she immediately pulls it, puts it behind her back. So without Will getting yanked off the board, she actually was able to pocket it. But that's neither here nor there. Why did she pocket it?
I think it's because moments before she learned out what would happen if they knew he was a pirate. No mercy, they would hang him.
Mm. Especially with him
That was-
being the same age as her.
Right. Now, as to why she kept it for 10 years, that I don't know.
So that's
I was
interesting.
thinking about that.
It's because
Go ahead.
she pulls it out of the drawer, and if you notice in the drawer, there's dust all around it. Like,
Mhm.
she hasn't gone back and looked at it in a very long time. When she opens that drawer and pulls it up, it is dusty all around except there, where the coin
Mhm.
actually was. So yeah, what did keep her from either going up back after it, or why did she keep it in the drawer? It's not like it was hidden anywhere special.
Right.
It was hidden a little bit, but I mean, if somebody had just yanked the drawer and heard it slide around, if somebody had actually yanked it, they would have heard it. So it's not like it was really well hidden. But
Right.
but she hid it. She had a dream and woke up to whatever nightmare, and now she's awake, and her father bought her a dress.
With a
So-
corset.
Apparently a very tight one.
A very tight one. And
And that was another piece of foreshadowing because she says like something along the lines of, do I even need to wear this? And he said it's all the fashion in Paris. And she said, like, women in Paris must have learned how not to breathe or
Yeah.
something like that, which is what results in her falling in the water, is her
Mhm.
not being able to breathe.
sorry, I'm trying to figure out if this is going on needs to. So it's a big ship. I don't know if you guys can see it. I want to make sure I get those parts on, otherwise everything else is not going to go on correctly. All right, so that looks good. So we still on? It looks like we are. And I bet we lost some people just because the 15 minutes that it wasn't streaming the way it was supposed to be. So, well. Maybe some people will show up a little bit later. All right. Anybody have anything to say yet? Now that we got to the dress and the foreshadowing of her passing out. Not yet. Okay.
No, not really.
So, does anybody else think it's kind of creepy that Norrington, who was a lieutenant and probably 21 to 22, watched her grow up and now he wants to marry her?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I definitely, honed
I was
right in
thinking
on
about
that.
that today.
Mm-hmm. Because she was like 19 and he was like
No, she was
30.
17.
17.
According to, well, I don't know about the character. The actress, Keira Knightley, was like 17 when she filmed it.
I think in the and I could be wrong,
Did
but
they
I think in the
say?
beginning she was 9, and then when they went into the future, it was 10 years. It was like 10 years later.
Okay.
I think is the caption on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it.
If that's what it was, then okay. So
But,
then,
I mean, but still, the dude's like 30.
right?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It's a bit creepy.
Yeah, it'd be different if it was like a princess and like a king or something where you're doing it for like a land grab. But that was just plain Disney weird.
Yeah.
Disney weird.
Yeah, they have a lot of things like that.
Yes, they do. All right. So then we got Will's first, his introduction. And we find out that he's a blacksmith and very good at making the swords and using them. As you see him flip that same sword around, saying it was very well balanced. And it was. I mean, that was an incredibly well balanced sword.
Yes.
But he flips it around, and you realize that he's going to be a pretty competent, at least without the experience, he's going to be a pretty competent combatant. So the only thing he has lacking is the experience of actually fighting, since he says a little bit later that he practices 3 hours a day with the blades. But if he practices there in the blacksmith shop, it's not like he has somebody to spar with. So at least that was my take on that. And that's most likely why Jack is able to beat him. Not because he's better, because Jack is actually not that good of a swordsman.
Right, and Will blames it on the fact that he didn't fight fair.
Yes.
And follow the rules of engagement.
And the fact that he would have lost.
Go figure.
What makes you think that I would want to fight fair then? Yeah. It's not much incentive to fight fair. All right.
And it's also interesting because right there in the beginning, we're finding out that Will has this disdain for pirates, like hates them, not knowing who his old man was. So there's I don't know if you were thinking about that. But obviously, the first time around, I wasn't. When I rewatched, trying to analyze it, I think it led to the reaction he had when he found out that the medallion had been kept from him, as he's all in one fell swoop, he realizes that she's kept it from him. She took it from him, didn't give it back to him, kept it that entire time without saying anything, and that it meant that his old man was a pirate. I think it was layers of betrayal.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Mhm.
I mean, after all, in his mind, pirates are who killed his father. So he doesn't know where his
Right.
father is, but the pirates attacked him or his ship, and he knew that that's what they do. And if he hasn't been able to find his father in all this time,
And he's been Anito Mantoying it for like 10 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
prepare to die. All right, get moving on this.
And that's right before Johnny Depp's entrance. Jack Sparrow coming into port.
Yes.
On his
Yeah.
basically sunken ship that's
Yeah.
still kind of moving forward.
And I think it really set the tone for his character, because you could see like the confidence. I don't know if I'd go so far as arrogance, but you could see the confidence on his face, where everything again perfectly timed at the very last moment, puts his foot out, and then falls directly onto the dock. It was
Mhm.
perfectly shot.
It goes to the joking that they are doing later, where Norrington kept saying he's the worst pirate I've ever seen,
Right.
until his lieutenant says that's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen. And it goes to that
Right.
point that his experience and despite his lack of luck that he has in most things, apparently, considering he keeps getting captured or his ship gets taken or whatever, that he still has the confident swagger of the best pirate ever.
Yes. And even his bad luck usually is masked good luck.
Right.
So being in the place where he is at the time he's there, at first glance may appear to be bad luck, but it always works out in his favor. And I love that with so many scenes. Like if you like reverse engineer the sequence of events, if he hadn't had the bad luck that he did when he did, he wouldn't have been in the right place in time to be able to end up on top like he did at the end. So it was the ship sinking. That was funny, but even like in the blacksmith shop, it seems like bad luck that he gets caught. But if he didn't get caught, he wouldn't have met up with Will. And if Elizabeth wasn't so many things wove into his destiny to bring him where he needed to be. I think it was maybe a slightly better thought out movie than I thought the first half a dozen times I watched it.
Yeah.
And on the surface, he just seems like the best worst pirate and the luckiest unluckiest guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Luckily.
Garrett says hi. Garrett's on. Chris Garrett is a friend of Jen's, mine, and Jessica's from the Renaissance Festival. Is where I met him. In fact, that's where I met Jessica.
Oh, really?
So dressing like pirates and Renaissance,
and wearing corsets that are sometimes too tight.
a
Well,
lot
for
of-
me and Jen, maybe not there.
Careful. Make sure you can still breathe.
Right. Or at least I'm not near any water.
Right.
All right. So he gets on. Jack gets on land, and the whole purpose was to find a new ship. The interaction he has with those two soldiers, I thought was kind of funny because he tells them right out what he's
Can I
planning.
pause you there for a
Yeah.
second? As I'm thinking about the movie and the order of events, do you think when we see him roll into port that it was immediately after he got off the island that Barbosa stranded him on? Or do you
No,
think it was some period of time later?
10 years at least, because Barbosa left him on the island right after he mutinied, and then there
Oh, right.
was the
Okay, right.
legends of how Jack escaped the island.
Right. Right. You wouldn't have a legend if he just rolled into port,
Right.
like right after
So
it happened. Time
so
would have to pass. You're
the
right.
strange thing about the beginning of the movie to the present time on the movie was he apparently lost his ship 10 years ago. But the timeline, if it was 10 years and it wasn't Jack who destroyed Will's ship, if it was Barbosa, that must have been before they even knew anything about the cursed gold, which that must answer the question that we were wondering before, is the reason why it didn't call out, because at this time they didn't understand the curse. So maybe that was what didn't cause it
Right.
to call out to the cursed ones. But that must have been right after dropping off Johnny that they, were pillaging and pirating, and that's where this ship blew up. So that must have been right after they
Right.
had dropped off Johnny. Well, Johnny,
Right.
sorry, Jack. So,
Same thing.
and then the interesting thing would be Gibbs being on a military vessel, a naval vessel, then becomes a pirate after saying already about that. What do you want to do? Bring cursed pirates down on us?
Hmm.
But he apparently had no problem becoming a mercenary himself and becoming a pirate because he ends up knowing Jack later on. So I thought Gibbs's history was a little bit on the questionable side. It's like, how did that play out?
My take on him was that, in my opinion, I always thought that he was probably a pirate before, tried to run away from the pirate life, or maybe run away from pirates and join the Royal Navy or whatever he was doing on the ship in the beginning, and then went back to his pirate heritage later.
Yeah,
I don't
and if he was
know
never,
if there's any like actual history on him, but that was my take from it because he knew Jack.
and if he was never caught, then he wouldn't have had the pirate brand. That's
Yeah.
a good take. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. See what happens when we talk about things? We can learn so much more. All right.
So he's on land and going back to that interaction he has with the two soldiers. That's probably one of my like top 2 favorite scenes in the whole movie. I love that interaction and how confused they get, and well, why would he tell us the truth? Well, I think he did tell us the truth. Well, why would he do that? It makes me laugh every time. I love that whole scene.
It looks like I lost the camera. Or a camera. So I don't know what's wrong with this camera. I'm going to have to buy another one.
And I agree. I think that was a hysterical. It's when you have a movie like that, especially when you're trying to get kids involved, you have to add a certain amount of levity to it. And I think it was a really funny interaction and kind of set the tone because I'd have to watch it again, as crazy as it is. but I want to say I don't think he lied.
No.
Like, I mean, not only there, but through the rest of the movie, even towards the end of the movie, everything that he said, he told the truth. People usually didn't believe it,
Hmm.
but he told the truth when he was talking about like he told the soldiers that the pirates were going to come out in boats. He didn't know that they weren't going to.
He
So he
also
was telling the truth on what he intended.
and he also told the pirates that the
Right.
soldiers were waiting for them.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. He told the truth to everybody all the way through, which is hysterical for a pirate.
Well, there is one
The
thing.
opposite of what you'd expect.
There is one thing he says though that let me see if I can get a better light here. And because I'm old and need glasses, I have trouble reading this. Barbossa actually says to him later, I must admit, Jack, I thought I had you figured. It turns out you're a hard man to predict. And Jack says, me? I'm dishonest. And a dishonest man can always, you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly, it's the honest ones you want to watch out for. You can never predict when they're going to do something stupid. And that's right before he tries to rescue Will. But
Right.
that was right along your point, Chris, where he was telling the truth. Because even there, he was foreshadowing that he was going to do something stupid.
Right.
Because
Honest,
an
but
honest
dumb.
man, you never know when they're going to do something stupid.
So true.
All right, so that's a good take that you don't know whether or not he's ever lied. And even getting slapped, his reactions to that, he didn't lie there either. He says, I'm not sure I deserved that. And then the second one, he says, I may have deserved that. And then when Will asks the third one, I suppose you didn't deserve that one either. He says, no, that one I deserved. No, I did deserve that one. So you're right. He didn't lie. That's an interesting thing. I'll have to rewatch. And I wonder if that follows suit through all the movies then.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch it with a critical eye.
Jen did mention, however, she does think she might have cracked a rib or two with the corsets. Because
yeah, terrible idea.
They must be ungodly uncomfortable sitting on those benches at the Renaissance Festival.
Heck yeah.
But somehow we do it all the time.
I think we just like the pretties. What was that, Chris?
Well, yeah.
So I don't like wearing a back brace and having to sit down. It cuts into my ribs. It cuts into my chest. I can't imagine a corset.
I didn't know you had a back brace. I'm sorry.
Nah, not anymore.
Yeah, they definitely take some getting used to. It's all in the way you sit.
Well, the same is true when you're wearing a kilt. What was that, Chris?
That's fair.
So I'll keep it in mind next time I wear a corset.
Yeah. It's all in the way you sit. Just remember it.
Well, when you're wearing a kilt, it's all in the way you sit too, because when you're sitting down, you're trying to keep things G-rated, and sometimes things get caught under.
Sometimes you're NC-17 unintentionally.
Well, the exclamations can sometimes be NC-17, or as the Europeans do, the mature 18.
Right.
All right, let's see.
So right at that same point, I think it's shortly after that, that's when he notices the mark. He's like identifying him as Jack Sparrow. And then he takes an account of all of his effects. And I don't know why I never caught it before, but I should have. I understand. I'm going to be the only one sitting here that didn't get this, I'm sure. But the single round in the chamber with no additional shots, and how throughout the entirety of the movie, he had the single round in the chamber because he was waiting to use it on Barbosa. I missed that. It went over my head until yesterday. That Barbosa had stranded him on the island with only one shot, and it's one of the other pirates that tells the story. One of the two, yeah. And when he's telling the story, and he yells at the other one like, "I'm telling the story." That's what he's talking about. Is the fact that Barbosa left him there, knowing that the one shot was so he could use it on himself when he didn't get rescued, when things got really bad, and that he pledged that he was going to wait and use that on Barbosa. And he did.
That he did.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. Sorry, everybody.
Well, I'm pretty sure spoilers were going to be built into this
Probably.
Conversation. So the interaction then between the soldiers and him then turned into an interesting conversation. I thought they're kind of a friendly conversation, and that's when Elizabeth falls off the wall. So it sounded almost like they were just a casual conversation, and it seemed rather interesting considering they were thinking he was stealing the ship, which he already admitted he was going to do.
Right.
But then it turns into this friendly conversation, friendly banter, and then he looks at the one and says, "Are you going to go get her?" And I can't swim. Are you going to I don't suppose you're going to get her either. And he's like, all right, takes off his gear and jumps in. But I thought that was interesting that that Jack's personality ended up disarming them enough that they were just having a conversation, not them accusing him of being a pirate or accusing him of actually wanting to steal the ship, despite the fact that he already got on board the ship that they were stopping him from getting on board.
Right.
And they pulled him away from it. He still won them over.
This way. Mm-hmm.
So that's very funny. As I think
it is very funny.
I don't think anybody could have done that role better.
No, I don't think Hugh Jackman would have nailed that one.
It would have been different. It would have been so like Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz. It's not that he was a bad actor. He just wasn't right for the part. And I don't think anybody would have been right for that part except for Johnny Depp. We wouldn't have known. Somebody else would have made the movie.
Right.
I don't think it would have been anywhere near as popular as it became. So he jumps in. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, have you heard anything about Johnny Depp's feelings on Jack Sparrow and that character? He is just absolutely in love with Jack, and he thinks he's like the greatest character ever, and he wants to be Jack forever. And he's done, I don't know if you've heard any of the, like, in the wild stuff that he's done. Like, he'll go and visit kids in the hospital in his actual movie gear. And I just saw a video on YouTube last week about the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney or whatever it is. And there's the Jack character, and he says his one line as the boat goes by. And so Johnny is there instead of the animatronic, and he says the line, and then he steps forward and has a conversation, and he talks to the people in the boat. And of course, everyone's just going crazy. But he'll just interact with them and have a conversation with them, and where's the rum, and have you seen Barbosa, and he just loves being Jack, and I really admire that about him as an actor. He loves the character, and he loves that the fans love the character, and therefore I feel like he loves his fans of Jack Sparrow. And I just think that's
Great.
just so cool.
And it's
The
so
Children's
unfortunate that it's
Hospital.
not gonna go anywhere now. What was that, Chris?
I was going to say the Children's Hospital visits alone. He has a fan in me for life, just for
Mhm.
doing that. Everything else is great. I hear he also shows up regularly for the end of the day parade, and he'll show up in character at Disney World or Disneyland for that. So that's
Mhm.
pretty cool. You show up on any given day, and there's Johnny Depp, there's Jack Sparrow, right there interacting with everybody. That's amazing.
He's done some other fan things with his other characters in other movies. He had a 9-year-old boy write him and tell him that he loved the hat he wore in Public Enemies. So when filming was done, Johnny Depp mailed the hat to the kid.
Wow.
So, and there, I've read a couple of things. I mean, granted, it's all internet, it could be exaggerated, whatever, but it's very consistent that he does
I
things like that.
believe it. I believe it.
I do.
Yeah.
But I think that's just so cool. And he's done a couple other things for other people who have mentioned things about characters that he's played, and he just sends them his hat. Or he visited somebody for their birthday because like this little girl invited him to her birthday party or something, and so he just went.
That's
That'd be
great.
so cool.
Yeah, it
Wouldn't
would.
it?
It's as I said, but we were talking over each other. It's unfortunate because Disney has screwed up so badly that Johnny will never go back. And I think he's lost his taste for Disney completely, so he may never go back to Disney World or Disneyland ever again either.
Mhm.
But
It's
it was all,
unfortunate for everyone.
what was that?
Mhm.
Oh, I just said that's unfortunate for everyone.
Yeah. And it's all because public opinion didn't wait for an actual, trial or anything else. It's
And
unfortunate.
they bowed to it. I would be offended too after having such a relationship for such a period of time with all the things that we just discussed. Children's hospitals showing up at Disney World, doing everything that he has done, and a lot of the character was him. He put himself into a lot of that character, dedicated his life to it. And then for them to
Hmm.
so quickly and so easily dismiss him, I would be so offended I would never go back. Just on the grounds of
Yeah.
how could you how could you walk back in the room and act as if that didn't just happen to you? It would be
Hmm.
impossible to have that same level of generosity and goodwill and willingness to work as hard and pour as much of himself into the role as he did before after that happened. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Well, not to
They really
derail our conversation, but now they're in talks with Margot Robbie to play a captain, and I don't know
Mm.
if they're going to do what the MCU has done, which is completely derail all males and throw females into the roles, um, and or even gender swap Jack to be Jane Sparrow. I don't know what they're planning on doing, but Margot Robbie is in talks to continue the franchise. I think the franchise is dead. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything with it because without Johnny,
Not without. Yeah.
right. I think the best they could ever hope to do is something adjacent to it. But I think to try to carry on the same, even pulling the same name, I understand they have a lot of money tied up in Pirates rides and themed memorabilia. And I mean, I get it. So they have to try to, and props and sets, that they have a lot of money invested in that. But I don't think they should try to, you know, female Ghostbusters. That's,
Right.
yeah, it's a little too much of a change. Trying to capitalize on nothing but the name. It would be It would be too different. I'd say the only way that would survive is if they somehow threw, I don't know, public apology, something out there to entice him to at least do a cameo. I think maybe if they got him on board to do a transitory thing, maybe the franchise could survive. But if I think if he's not on board, the people who are loyal to him won't be on board out of a matter of principle.
Mhm.
I'm one of them.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Jen's been
Yeah.
following the I don't know why that does that. Jen's been following the trials, and she just stated that he had created Jack and is brokenhearted that the character will not have a proper goodbye. And like I said, I don't blame him for not, for not ever wanting to go back. All it's going to do is make them money, and they treated him like crap. Why should he help them make money?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Where am I at? I keep losing myself here. But if it wasn't for
The riveting conversation is distracting you.
if it wasn't for good conversation, then this whole premise wouldn't work. So, what am I missing? There we go. All right. So where
were we? Yeah.
He jumped in to save. Geez, we're still at the beginning. We're in the first 15 minutes of the movie. He jumps in, saves.
It was a darn good 15 minutes.
I'm enjoying it. He jumps in and saves Elizabeth. Rips the corset off so she can breathe. Interesting to note that the soldier was like, I wouldn't have thought of that. And Jack says to him, well, you've never been in Singapore. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And what a taboo it would have been in that day and age to do such a thing. You might as well come out topless would be the equivalent of today.
Which is the reason why they wanted to the reason why they wanted to arrest him right away.
Right. Tantamount to assault.
Mm-hmm. And I think right after that, his escape is one of the first very large showings of his lucky, unlucky, best worst pirate-ness.
And so iconic.
Mm-hmm.
The complexity of it, the grandiosity of the whole thing. Up until then, even when you watched, I'm going to date myself here, but even when you watch the very, very old pirate movies, the swashbuckling scenes, which were good, they caught your attention. The sword play, the classic cutting of a rope to drop a mast, and those are all
Douglas Fairbanks, Errol Flynn, Burt Lancaster.
Right. Errol Flynn being the master of such things. They're great, but this was just so over the top, so grandiose compared to anything that came before. I think that's what I don't know. I think that may be the scene that really set the hook for most everybody. At that point, it was exciting. You're right there in the beginning of the movie, and you saw some crazy stunts being pulled off. I think it's second only to the moment that that the pirates are seen for their true selves. I think that was the other scene that just pulled you in, and the visuals just brought you through, like the way that the scene was shot in the beginning with him getting away. it was it captivated you in a way that you're rooting for him. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's like a Rube Goldberg device to get him out of the situation. I thought it was a fascinating way to handle it.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a part in the jail cell, and Jessica, you just mentioned that all the luck and unluck that he was having, where the other pirates were able to escape. Right before that scene, the pirate that's in the adjacent cell is telling him about the Black Pearl, telling Jack when Jack mentions Black Pearl, and he said something along the lines of, "They leave no prisoners," and Jack says, "Well, if they leave no prisoners, how do you know the story?"
Yeah.
Mhm.
So obviously, there's a lot of pirate stories that are exaggerated. So that lends to later when Jack says how he escapes the island, when Gibbs is telling the story to Will about the sea turtles and roping them, which I thought was rather
And
funny.
tying them together to make a raft. And he's like, what do you use for rope? And he was like, the hair off my back.
Which
Yeah.
which definitely puts into perspective how Jack thinks that all of it's ridiculous to begin with. That these idiotic stories that get exaggerated. What better way than just say, "Yeah, I made the rope from the hair off my back."
Right.
Was that a lie?
Was that what?
Yeah.
You talked about him never lying.
Yeah,
Did he use the hair
that's
on his
true.
back?
That's a lie.
It's
Yeah.
Well,
highly
so is the
possible.
sea turtles though at that point, because he actually gets rescued by a rum ship. So I guess he does fib. But I think it's more of an exaggerated pirate story than an outright lie, because he doesn't lie about his intentions. He just goes on with the story.
Right.
I'd agree with that.
He was just really going along with it.
All right, so they escape. He doesn't. He's left behind. They end up attacking the governor's mansion and take Rigetti and Pintel. End up grabbing Elizabeth and the Aztec coin. Any part in that, or do you want to go further? She sacrifices herself by telling the maid to go hide because they hadn't seen her. So she basically saved the maid. But other than that, she brings up parlay.
Okay. Well, yeah, in that scene, in that period, I think that again, they have to balance the G with the PG with the slightly more mature content. But that scene where they open the door and the pirates just shoot that guy right in the face and he just falls over backwards, stiff as a board. Genius, because it showed the ruthlessness, even though they bust through the door moments later and they're kind of like, they have like a kind of a jolly banter with each other about the terrible things they're doing. I think they were able to get away with that because it was comedy gold. It was, even though there was a terrible thing they did, there was a comical way in which they did it. But I didn't see that coming. Getting shot in the face and falling stiff as a board. It was genius.
Yeah.
And shocking.
Very shocking. Like, oh shit, this is serious.
I'm
Now
apparently
my-
echoing a little bit here, so let's see if I can adjust this. Pull this down a little bit, and this down a little bit. Is that any better?
You sound fine to me.
Okay. Jen, when you get back upstairs, let me know if I'm still echoing. So what were we just... You had mentioned something, Chris, just a second ago. You were talking about... What were you talking
I
about?
don't know. I think I finished the thought. I think. I just love that scene. Yeah, the shot in the face.
This is actually Disney's first PG-13 movie.
Maybe
Oh,
for
really?
that scene.
Probably because of that scene.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And
Well,
it's a little bit scary with the skeletons later on. You know, for
Yeah.
the kids.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. Very.
I definitely found a
Ooh,
creep
right up-
factor to it. So you said this came out in 2003, and so I was a junior in high school when this came out, and I saw it in theaters, and there had a little bit of a creep factor because of the shock of the skeleton part.
It was creepy. Really graphic.
had you been to Disney World before watching it, or no? To see the...
When
ever
I
to
was,
be on the
I've
ride?
been once when I was 10, maybe. I don't have too many specific memories of that trip. I was pretty young.
So when you went into this movie, did you not know that there would be skeletons?
Nope. I want to say, I was thinking about this earlier. I want to say that there was one trailer that came out, and I could be wrong, that showed a little snip of the creepy skeletons. Whether it was when they were just walking underwater, or it wasn't really a spoiler. And I remember watching the trailer going, oh, is this going to be a scary movie? Like, what is that? Because in high school and now, I'm not a fan of horror movies anyway, so I wasn't sure for a moment when I saw the one trailer. So no, I had no idea those were really going to be part of the movie when I went to see it.
Despite the creep factor of the skeletons, what do you think of the skeleton monkey? Because Jen thinks that's the best part.
I love the skeleton monkey because again, I didn't see that one coming. I was thinking that the monkey was normal. Like I didn't really consider the monkey to be part of the cursed crew. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's a pirate too.
He took some of the gold.
He took it. So, but yeah, the skeletal monkey was pretty damn creepy.
Yeah.
They named him Jack.
And parlay, the whole idea, because like I'm sure we've all been exposed to the term at some point in time, but I like the way that they used it not just once but repeatedly throughout the movie. The idea that you could save yourself, at least respite until you're brought to the captain of a pirate crew, as if like that would really be a thing in real life. And you'd be like, hey, hold on, parlay, and then they'll be like, we're not going to kill you now. Come on, hop in. We'll bring you to our captain. Like that would be a real thing. But I love the idea that they used it because they did make it a little more innocent by doing that. Otherwise, it would have been a different movie.
Yeah, there would have been a lot more killing.
Yeah,
Accurate as the pirate culture in real life. Very different movie.
very different movie.
I got the rudder now.
Okay, where are we? Okay. I'm looking for an outline quick. Where do we leave off?
So they got her on board, right? Basically parlay. Is that the last thing you really talked about?
Yep. She's on her way to talk to Barbosa.
Which is when she gives him the name of Elizabeth Turner.
Hmm.
When he asks, because she kind of catches wind. She knows who she got it from. She knows what they're looking for. And I don't know if it was just an effort to protect him or an effort to give herself some value so that she wasn't at that point disposable. But why do you think she used the last name Turner?
Well, I know at one point, what is it that she says? She says, I didn't steal it, if that's what you mean. And so maybe she used his last name because it was his. So she was, like it could be mine too.
She also didn't want to be known as the governor's daughter.
Right.
True.
So definitely
Sorry, a little
using.
twofold there.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said it was twofold there. Because the maid said, "You're the governor's daughter, they want you." And she also didn't want them to think that she stole it.
They said that, but she did say that. The maid did tell her that.
Hmm.
They're here for you. You're the governor's daughter.
So yeah, twofold answer. That makes sense. I hadn't really thought about how deep that act was by lying. Yeah, her story arc in the 3 movies is very strange.
Yeah, it is.
As opposed
Definitely
to
not
Jack
from
always
the
telling
language.
the truth. She's a lying harpy.
Right? Constantly.
Hmm. It's almost like, so the pirates are supposed to be kind of the bad guys, in a
Right. The
sense,
ruthless ones.
and he's the honest one. And then she's, basically like a princess, like a governor's daughter. And she's supposed to be this innocent girl, who's scared or tells the truth and whatever. And it's almost like she's the chaotic one and Jack's the true good one or whatever.
That's very true.
He does, even though he's a pirate, he does have loyalty to the crew, to each of his crews. That's the reason why he got into trouble, is because he even trusted Barbosa with the destination, which is what got him mutinied. Why he got
Right. He got mutinied because he told Barbosa the truth.
Jen wanted me to mention that we're part of a pirate ship. We belong to a Renaissance pirate ship.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, the Hell's Half Mile. The Michigan ship.
Very cool.
It was an actual
I do
ship.
not make it to Renaissance fairs as often as I should. I went to one this last year, and I plan on going this upcoming year too, but they're so far from here.
I'm sorry, I heard you plan on sucking on an ear too.
That too. I didn't realize I said it out loud. That's embarrassing.
I just have very bad hearing.
No, I said I have not gone to as many as I'd like to. And I went to one last year, and I plan on going to another one this upcoming year. But they're just so far away. It takes so long to get there. I wish there was one within a couple of hours of here.
Yeah, where you live, you said 5 hours? 5
Yeah. Yeah, 5.5.
It's a little long for a day trip.
Yeah, and then it gets a little expensive going for the motel, especially if you're going the day before and coming home the day after.
Right.
So then you're paying for, well, if you're going to go Friday, you're paying for Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then if you're going to go on Sunday and you don't pay for Sunday night, you're driving till 1 o'clock in the morning, which is hard,
Right.
especially if you want to have a drink or two. But they do
Wait,
have
Going to
they have a
Renaissance
weekend
Fair
at a
and not having a
open
drink?
drinking. Well, on Sunday, like if I got to drive 6 hours when I'm done, I don't like to wake up and drive 6 hours, let alone party all day and then drive 6 hours.
The ship is getting big. I need to adjust where I'm looking at here. So you can see both ends. Okay, there we go. All right, so she's on the ship. She finds out that they need her, but don't know. She doesn't know whether or not she's going to be sacrificed or not. And she grabs a knife and attempts to fight Barbossa, not knowing exactly where she was going to go afterward. She's on a ship in the ocean, but she
Surrounded by
stabs
his
him.
loyal crewmates.
What's that?
Surrounded by his loyal crewmates.
Right. So he even mentions, not sure where you think you're going to go. But she stabs him. He reels back into the moonlight. You see for the first time that he's not dead. And she, scared, goes out the door. And then this is where the cursed crew is first encountered.
And I think my jaw just fell open in the movie theater.
Your what?
Because, my jaw fell open in the movie theater. Because, like I said, I didn't know that was coming. And if I do remember that there was a trailer, I had no idea what it pertained to when they showed the little skeleton guys. So I remember in the theater, I just went.
So the spectacle of the skeletons, part CGI, part practical. What do you think? Were you guys impressed?
I was, especially in 03 graphics. They would have done better now. But in 03, that was outstanding. And I think when you're seeing skeletons, you can surrender a little of your disbelief because they're skeletons. So a little bit of, I think the CGI was fairly good. I mean, it's obvious it was CGI. You could see it, especially seeing what we've seen in today's movies. But at the time, I think it was great. Outstanding for its day, like leading technology for the day.
I thought it was cool, especially when they transitioned from moonlight to non-moonlight and they were back to their human forms.
Yes.
Which makes it a foreshadowing of what ends up happening at the end of the movie with Will, with the grenade. One of my favorite parts of the movie. Where the three pirates are spiked together, and the middle one is attacking them, and Will gets hold of the lit grenade, and while he's in the moonlight, shoves the grenade into his ribcage and then pushes him back out of the moonlight. So then he's like, ah! Boom.
Yep. I forgot about that.
I did too.
One of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, and that scene, and again, going from my failing memory, but I think that was another one where the combination of the visuals, the music, and the way that they shot it, so that not only were you seeing these things, but they brought you through the scene with different points of view so that they could really showcase all the pirates and they could really showcase the ship, because I mean the ship is really a character in the movie too. You know, the same way the monkey is a character, and the same way, you know, I mean, not only all the people, but I think the monkey, the boat, they're very much characters, and that really
Mhm.
introduced you to the the ship as it's being manned by a phantom pirate crew. I think that e- each scene, like each shot as it goes through, even though it's in rapid succession, you're seeing people rowing, you're seeing them swabbing the deck, you're seeing the entirety of the crew carrying out their roles instead of just a shot looking out into the moonlight. You're physically brought through the crowd, and I think that, I mean, I've watched that so many times, and the room gets quiet. Everybody, I have a bunch of grandkids, and every time it happens, everybody just shuts up and they pay attention, because it
Mhm.
is such a visual roller coaster. It pulls you in, and the music, obviously the score is outstanding. That's why it still holds up today. But that was a wonderful use of the foreboding music in that part too. It, even the characters you thought were kind of funny up till then, and all the little jokes and the little asides, all of a sudden becomes very real and very dark really quickly, like a slap in the
Mhm.
face. Thought it's a wonderful scene. My second favorite one in the whole movie.
The soundtrack in general for the whole movie is really good too.
It is.
I
It
think they
is
did a
one of my
really
favorites.
well with the incorporating the music, the right kind of music. But it's isn't it Danny Elfman?
Uh,
I think it
I,
is.
I don't know
No?
who all is in there, but during the commentary, I thought it was interesting that is it Gore and Johnny were talking, and Johnny asked him who did the score for it. He says about 13 people.
No? Well.
So apparently they had so many different people contributing, but it was one main guy that had taken all the pieces parts and put it into a cohesive score. But I thought that was interesting
Well done.
that it took that many people to come up with all those themes.
Mhm. So I have a quick side note here. For Halloween growing up, we always went all out decorating our house. I grew up in a Victorian house that had a wraparound porch. And one year we did Pirates of the Caribbean theme. And so we made pirate dummies in the yard, and we put a blue tarp out like the water. We had a cannon sticking between the slats. Then my dad put up a white sheet and he projected the Pirates of the Caribbean movie onto the sheet so that as it got darker, you actually watched the whole movie. And we had the soundtrack just playing on a speaker. And that was so much fun. We would put, what are they, little firecrackers in the little cannon, and you would hear us 6 blocks away. Kids would just come running. But it was really fun to dress the house up like a pirate ship. And then the adults just loved. We had people just standing on the sidewalk watching the movie on the sheet. It was supposed to be their sail in the daylight, and then at night you could see the movie. So it was a lot of fun. I went to the library and borrowed the soundtrack just for that, and that's when I realized how good the soundtrack was.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
like a lot of fun.
That was a blast. That was probably one of my favorites. We did a different theme every year for Halloween.
Reminds me of something my dad had done for Halloween. He got dressed up as a zombie, and put the cork and made himself up with white face cork, and sat down next to the front steps. And what he'd done was sat there quietly until people would come up the stairs. And when they came up to the step, he'd just sit there and he'd stay like this. But once they start to come out, he'd go.
I can see him doing
They'd
that.
stop and they'd be like, what? What the hell? They're looking down at him. It's like, is it real? Poke him. He wouldn't make any motion or anything like that. Wow, that's really cool. They'd go up and get their candy and then come back down. And then, depending on how he felt, whether or not he believed they would have a heart attack or whatever, he would then burst out some sort of auditory, bah! Or he'd say, "Have a good night." He'd do whatever just to get their attention, and they'd all just book ass out of the freaking yard, just not wanting to be there. Just like the hell is that thing? So along the lines of you're playing the Pirates of the Caribbean, which is pretty freaking awesome. Sometimes I do spectacle type things too.
Theron, you should get a Halloween Lego set, and I can regale you with all kinds of Halloween awesomeness that we would do at my house, because we did a different theme every year.
Oh, we love Halloween. Jen's my favorite holiday.
Mine too.
All right, apparently now I'm major echoing. How about now? Of course, she's a little behind because the stream is behind, so we'll figure it out.
So where were we in the movie? The skeletons?
Just got done with skeletons. So we're about 30 minutes into the movie out of a 2.5 hour movie. I'm getting further on this ship than we're getting in the movie.
Yeah, you'll be ready to walk the plank far before we will.
Yeah. Eric said just showed up. Eric is a friend from the Renaissance Festival. He's got his own stream where he plays around with Macintosh computers, playing around with the operating systems, and actually one of them he's rebuilding a battery for a MacBook.
Oh.
Yeah, Eric's saying I'm going to. All right, I'm going to see if I can turn off my mic and then bring it back up.
So I was next in the movie.
Good question. So I should just pull it up and have it on the TV and just go see the scene.
Will breaks Jack out of prison or out of jail so that they can steal a ship and go after Elizabeth.
And so he talks about the right leverage.
I was going to say the same thing. I thought it was a intelligent way of handling it, where you, instead of a brute strength or luck, he demonstrated that he was a pretty smart guy and had that kind of frame of mind, engineering, because he said, take on the famous line about, give me a lever long enough I can move the world. He said, given the right amount of leverage and the right amount of, I forget if he called it stroke or something, that you'd be able to just lift the gate right off, which obviously is exactly what he did. But I thought it was a good way of showing that he was an intelligent guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Both of them, actually, I think show their intelligence in that scene.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up to my place here.
All right,
Yeah.
how about now? Am I echoing still? So
I just thought it was funny too when Will walks into the jail area and tries to talk to Jack, and Jack's playing it cool, like, I don't need you, I'm fine in here. Then they talk about the leverage.
Right.
and
Right.
that's the
And I
second
think
time.
that's-
Then
isn't that the point where he got?
that's the second time where he recognizes Will, and that's where he finds out that Will's last name is Turner.
Which is what makes him so agreeable so quickly to all of a sudden accept his help.
Like at that point, Will realizes there's something to that. Like, you didn't want to help me till you heard my name, but he wants to get to Elizabeth so badly that he doesn't even care. He's like, we'll figure that out later. Just help me.
So then it brings us to them escaping that, getting to the Dauntless underwater, under the rowboat,
hmm
which makes him the best pirate ever. since he gets up onto the Dauntless, Norrington thinks he's trying to steal the Dauntless, which means he's the worst pirate ever. Waits for Norrington to have the entire interceptor rigged. They get out there. As soon as everybody gets on board the Dauntless, Will and Jack get on the interceptor, fully rigged, ready to go. Best pirate ever.
And the two soldiers go, I guess he was telling the truth.
Yep.
So from there, don't they sail to Tortuga, or am I skipping a part?
The very next part is where Will confronts Jack about his dad being a pirate, where he doesn't believe
Right.
it.
Disbelief.
And that's where Will says, well, I'm better fighter than you. You didn't fight fair. And Jack says, well, not much incentive for me to fight fair if you're going to win. So he says, can you be led by a pirate? If you can, we're good. Let's go to Tortuga. Tortuga? Yeah, I think we can go to Tortuga. So then they end up with the slaps from Scarlet, which he wasn't sure he deserved. Giselle, who he thought he might have deserved. And then, I forgot. I don't want to skip the third one yet, because now they have to go and get Gibbs out of the pig pen. Which I thought was funny that Will splashed him. He got up. They talked about Jack buying a drink for the person who got woken. And then that person who got woken needs to talk to the person who buys the drink.
Who did the waking?
proposal.
Yeah.
And then Will splashes him again. Classic. Why? Because you smell. All right. So he gets a crew, including the parrot and a girl named Anna Maria, who slaps him. And Jack did deserve that one because he stole her ship. So they promise her the interceptor. They say, okay, we're on board. And they head out. And Jack leads them to the Isla Muerta. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is it the Isle of the Dead?
The Isle of the Dead.
With his compass that does not point north. So they get to the island. Jack and Will sneak in, and they witness the coin, the cutting of Elizabeth's hand, and needing the blood on the coin in order to break the curse. which gives Jack the rest of the story that he needed, the rest of the puzzle, to figure out what else was going on.
Right.
So now he knows that Turner is definitely needed to help break the curse.
And
Now,
how
what was that?
he learns how.
Oh, and
also,
how.
like
How.
what is required. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't like the little rascals. And how.
He-Man, Woman Haters Club.
I
So
have my card in my wallet. So, right, they get to the island.
oh, you're reading notes.
I am. I just pulled it up because I lost my place. Yeah.
They talk about
It's terrible
the
that my notes don't help me out a lot.
Well, Will and Jack have the discussion about waiting until you have the right leverage. Again.
Right.
And isn't this also where this is also where Gibbs tells Will the story of sea turtles? Or
Yes,
was that earlier?
that's right. That's exact. No, this is when. Yes, that's when it happens. Yep, because that's when Will asks where he got the rope.
ASMR.
Oh, right, and the code, because they had mentioned the code a few times, and that's when they talk about keeping the code. And Will asked what the code was that they promised to keep. And Jack explained it's the Pirate's Code. If anybody falls behind, they're left behind. Which wasn't exactly what I thought the code was going to be when they revealed what it was. I thought it was going to be the opposite. Like you always go back for them, but it was just as, I mean, it's exactly as it should be. Pirate's Code is you fall behind, you're behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's where Jack gets left behind in the island. Will grabs Elizabeth and escapes the island. And then Barbossa grabbing Jack, they get on the Black Pearl and chase down the Interceptor. And Jack's trying to leverage what he knows and how to break the curse to try to save the people that are on the Interceptor from getting destroyed. Correct? I got it right? And then Barbossa says, well, it doesn't matter because I can get what I need off the boat even after they're dead. So I don't care if they're alive or dead. So he loses all leverage there. And we're talking about leverage again. So
Sense a reoccurring theme.
the Black Pearl, which is the fastest ship known in the Caribbean area, easily overtakes the Interceptor. Elizabeth comes up with the idea to drop the anchor overboard and use that to flip the ship around to engage the Black Pearl. There's a problem with that. Aren't they in the open water?
Mm-hmm.
How deep is the
but-
ocean?
But they weren't that far from shore. And I can tell you that here, where I am, the edge of the shelf varies depending upon how far offshore you are and where you are geographically on the coastline. And some places you have to sail really far to get off the shelf. And in other places it dips really close to land because you can take your boat out and you can see it. You can see not it, I guess. You can see the effect of it where the warm water and the cold water hit as the water hits the shelf and then comes up. You can see like the dark spots, and that's actually where you go fishing. So if there were, it's within the realm of believability that they'd be able to look out and at a glance see, yeah, we can drop anchor here.
Okay, good. So it catches a rock, almost destroys the ship as it turns back around. And they engage.
Which isn't this go ahead.
You were going to say?
Isn't that the chase during which they were confused as to like how fast the other ship was going, so they started dumping shit overboard.
Mm-hmm.
Is this is the pursuit, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I thought that was funny when they started packing the cannons with like everything,
Anything that was
silverware,
left.
anything that was left, because they just got rid of everything else that was heavy.
And wasn't it a spoon that ends up embedding itself near Jack?
Yes,
Yeah.
and then the guy with the wooden eye gets a fork in the eye,
Yeah.
Right.
which
And
was
then
also hysterical.
Because then it moves around with his eye.
With his eye. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't long before that we skipped past it, but the conversation when he almost whimpers when they're talking about how wonderful it would be to have a glass eye, that they make such a thing, and he almost whimpers, that would be wonderful because the splinters can get so bad. That's hysterical. Splinters in the eye
Splinters.
socket. Oh, that's terrible.
Splinters probably got worse after the fork impaled the eye too.
Yeah, no, that can't be comfortable.
Well, you know how uncomfortable it is to rub your eye to begin with. It just irritates whatever is going on. Just imagine just rubbing in a wooden eye, causing the splinters to dig even harder. And, yeah.
And I had an incident with my left eye where I was working on a boiler and had to shimmy myself into position and was soldering pipes above my head, and my arms were kept at my side. There was no flailing about. I was pinned, and I dropped solder on my eyeball. And when I did, it like fused because it boiled the water off of it quickly, and it fused to my eyeball. And when I'm telling you, it literally felt like sandpaper on the inside of my eyelid for far too long.
Ow.
It was
Yeah.
terrible. It was terrible.
Kind
One
of
of
made
those
my
things
eye
where,
water.
yeah, and that's what would happen. Your eye would water, and then you'd go to move your eye, like as if you don't realize how much your eyes move until it hurts to move your eye, because every time it happens, you flinch. And when you flinch, you instinctively jerk your eyes, whether it's up, down, left, right. I found that every time you flinch from pain, your eyes flick, which only made it worse. Snot coming out of your nose, eyes just pouring. It was a terrible situation. I would literally hold my eyelid away from my eye and just let it breathe. Just try to
Yeah.
hold still for a while and let it go. It was terrible.
Making me blink a lot, like my eyes are burning thinking
Yeah,
about
my
it.
eyes are watering.
Yeah. Well, think about how I feel when I saw that pirate get a fork in the eye. I was like, oh, I can so
Flashback.
sympathize.
Well,
That'd be so terrible.
not to make light of your situation, but Jen says that makes her giggle all the time when that fork moves.
Yeah.
Yes. And they did that a lot with the eye, but with the fork in it, when it was when it was jiggling around with the fork sticking out of his eye. Yeah, I could feel it. Hysterical.
I think one of my favorite lines happens during that whole battle scene, and that's "Stop blowing holes in my ship."
Right. That was
Right.
with the spoon.
Yeah. I love that line. It's something that I would quote kind of, often in normal life. Just something happens, like you drop the bowl or something, and "Stop blowing holes in my ship."
And it's true because look how hard and long he fought to get it back. And then somebody blowing holes in the side of the damn thing.
Yeah.
Terrible.
It's like his baby, You're like, "Stop destroying my prized possession."
Sorry. Made a mistake. There we go. I'll put it back to the bigger shot so everyone can see it.
All right, and this is the scene where they're getting ready to blow the ship up.
The scene that we were talking about earlier, yep, where they went down below and Wile E. Coyote the powder keg.
The gunpowder.
And
Which
Will
was great.
somehow escapes because he's the hero. Or
Right.
a
Right.
hero. He gets on board ship, happens to find a loaded weapon, and threatens them. Obviously, not the smartest thing to do, considering they're not going to die. But then figures out maybe he did something else. And I love Jack actually says, "Don't do anything stupid." Says it kind of under his breath. And then Will says, "Well, you can't die, but I can." And Jack's like, "Yeah, that." Yeah. Definitely something stupid.
Yeah.
So Jack and Elizabeth get dumped off on an island with again one bullet. And that's where we learn the real story as to how he escaped. As he goes directly for the rum on the island.
And then unexpectedly she joins him drinking.
Mhm.
And then when he wakes up and she is burning all the supplies and all the liquor, I felt that pain too.
I know, right?
I know, right. I get where she was going, and it worked out in the end. But god damn it, I would have been mad.
Well, it comes right back to what you were talking about earlier. He's honest. She is not. She becomes
She's
worse
not.
than any other pirate.
Right. She actively deceived him purposefully to get him drunk enough to pass out, and then she was the dishonest one, for sure.
And that's why
Jen
it's such
says,
a...
which is why. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Jen says, which is why he was tempted to use that bullet on her when she burns the rum. I mean, it's kind of a valid reaction.
Yeah, for the other traitor. Yeah.
Yeah, because as far as he knew, that was the only thing that was going to numb the pain of dying.
Right. Exactly. If you have to pick a way to go, I'd rather drink myself to death than just starve.
Right. Yeah, that definitely showcases, though, how manipulative Elizabeth Swann really is. And it's a reoccurring theme for her. You're saying not only is she dishonest, but she's manipulative to get, whatever means to the end that she wants or needs.
And I mean, Will did the same thing, backing up a little when Jack and Will are going in for the rescue. Jack says something to him along the lines of, "Have I ever given you a reason to not trust me?" And Will was like, no. And then next thing you know, Will's knocking him out. So they made an agreement. They had a discussion, said, hey, I trust you, right? You trust me, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then Will's the one that goes back on it, not Jack. Jack continued on with the plan until he got knocked out.
Hmm.
Not nice.
Now, Will also betrayed him because he didn't realize that Jack had a plan the whole time. Because
Right.
at the end,
Which I think he says that later. He's like,
Yep.
oh, you had this plan the whole time? It's like, yeah, you asshole, and you betrayed me.
yeah,
I'm sorry, are we PG? I let that slip. I didn't mean it.
we're not for kids.
Okay.
The stream is not designed for kids.
Okay. As long as you didn't check mark the box, we're good.
All kinds of things could slip. I'm surprised I don't say the F word more often.
Try not to. Although it would be fitting, right? It is like a pirate theme.
I'm sure that
Nobody's
they
even
used
done.
coarse language.
The last time I went to a Ren fair during the joust, I was right next to about a dozen big drunk guys, and I remember thinking the whole time, like, this is the best effing fair I've been to in a long time. It was literally like being in the middle of a bunch of pirates. They're all drinking heavily, loud, boisterous, unpredictable. I was like, this is authentic as hell. It was a good time.
All right. So they get rescued and they almost don't get to go after Will until she agrees to marry Norrington. So I wonder if this movie is like a commentary on men and women. Women are treacherous and men are forthright. You think?
I mean, if the shoe fits Cinderella.
I think the irony was intended, but I don't know if it was like more of a commentary on the irony of the pirates being the ones that are the most honest, and then everybody else is a bunch of liars. I think that's intended. I don't know about the necessarily it being a woman, because Will did that shit too.
That's true, but it's more fun to say it's the other.
Sure.
All women are treacherous. Okay, so where are we at? They're rescued. They go because she agrees to marry Norrington. Oh, that's right. Jack comes up with a plan to have the soldiers ambush the pirates as they come out. Because Jack knows that if he can get Turner to reverse the curse before Barbossa knows that it's been done, then they can defeat the pirates.
Right.
So that was his plan, was to force that to happen. And ends up Barbossa sort of says, well, we'll just wait on this until we take care of the soldiers. So they go out to take care of the soldiers as undead. And that's where Barbossa brings up that line I had mentioned earlier. Where he couldn't believe that Jack was that he couldn't figure him out. Where he says, I must admit I couldn't figure you out. And Jack says, me, I'm dishonest. And that's where he says that honest people do unexpected things like something stupid. And that's where he does he throw a sword? He throws a sword at Will, doesn't he?
Yes.
hmm
And like Will does like the catching it behind his back thing.
And then the pirate strikes down, cutting the ropes. And then they all have battles. They all have sword fights.
Another great fight scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Barbossa and Jack. Barbossa's clearly better than Jack, but Jack definitely has a little more guile in the way that he's battling. So he knows he has something he has to do. He's already picked up one of the coins. So when he thrusts his sword into Barbossa, and Barbossa's like, well, that was kind of stupid.
That was
I'm going to do the
amazing.
same thing to you. And he stabs Jack. And Jack steps back into the moonlight. Says, "Oh, this feels kind of interesting." Once he comes back from that, Barbossa and him fight again. Barbossa says something interesting. He says, "You're off the edge of the map, mate. Here there be monsters." Off the edge of the map is an interesting way to say that Jack is crazy mother. Foe.
Yes. And I didn't catch it, but that's a wonderful pirate thing to say.
Yeah. When I heard that and I recognized what he was saying, I'm like, wow, that was actually a really cool line. You're off the map, mate.
I won't forget that. Yeah.
But then brings it back and says, well, here there be monsters. I think that was right before he stabbed Jack and found out that Jack had stolen the coins. But I thought that was a really cool line.
Yeah. Very good.
All right, we're at 2 hours, so we just have a little bit longer to go. You guys still up for it?
Yep.
Finish up the movie?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So, sword fight. The pirates have attacked the soldiers, and they also attack the interceptor.
I want to say yes, where they're climbing up the ropes and climbing aboard.
So then,
Elizabeth is back on ship when that happens, isn't she? Oh no, she's not till the
she
end.
never
Never mind.
left.
Yeah, never mind.
So let's see. They battle a little more, and Jack makes an interesting throw behind Barbossa. After he cut his hand and had the coin, he threw the coin to Will, who then had another coin for himself. He cuts his hand, and then they drop both. And that's when Jack uses that one bullet that you were talking about earlier, Chris.
Yes.
And finally gets his revenge.
And Barbossa
Which
makes
was... God.
I would say Barbossa makes some comment about you've had that shot for so long, you've held on to it for so long, and now you waste it.
Right.
And that's when then they drop the coin.
That's when they drop the coin.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Very well written.
It was.
Okay.
Oh, and after he gets shot, I think the only thing he says is, like, I feel cold,
Mm-hmm.
which he had said a million times. He just wanted to feel something.
Yeah.
And
so in death, he actually felt something.
He felt something. So he got something.
Yeah, it's a good point. That despite everything, he was happy.
Yep. And then after that, parlay again. So all the soldiers realize, or all the pirates realize that they're mortal, and then they ask for parlay.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't going to save them, considering
Right.
Norrington likes to hang his pirates.
Right.
So then, I'm a little hazy. Do they actually cut to the wedding? Or to the hanging, I should say.
To the hanging.
Yes, that's where it picks up. Yeah, for sure.
And Will's
Because he has his little
rescue.
dialogue. Like, they call him Jack Sparrow. He's offended because they never call him Captain Jack Sparrow. And then Will makes it through the crowd, right? And then has his little exchange with Elizabeth. I think there was a good line in there, and I can't think of it for the life of me. Didn't he tell her that he like should have told her that he loved her like every day or a million times or something like that? Yeah, and then turns around, and I think, like, I don't know, I don't think it was just the audience that was catching on at that point that something was up. You knew something was going to go on, but I think that's where she also looked like she had the realization, like, hey, wait a second, he's heading up, he's going to do something, like he's going to try to rescue Jack.
The other foreshadowing that something else was about to happen with Jack up there was the parrot appears above those two soldiers that were guarding the ship in the beginning and poops down one of their jackets. Lands on the flag or whatever and poops down the jacket. So like as soon as you see the parrot appear, like you know something, the pirates are around. Like the good pirates, Jack's pirates.
Right. I didn't. Yes, that makes perfect sense. I didn't catch that, but yeah, the bird was definitely there and shit on his jacket.
Yeah.
That's great.
And that's another kind of heroic swashbuckling scene too, is the rescue with whipping the sword out from under, or making it land under Jack's feet right as, you know, the noose catches or whatever.
Yeah.
It's definitely another big pirate scene.
Yeah. And a tribute to his swords and his swordsmanship, Will's, because he was able to do that.
That's also where Will kind of accepts that he's a pirate, or that he's, you know, his dad truly was a pirate, and so is he, kind of.
And it was I think that was the first time, maybe the only time, that he said outright, he like defended Jack, said he was a good guy.
Yeah.
And up until then, he had been saying nothing but negative things about pirates in general and about Jack specifically. But at that point, he proclaims that he's a good man.
Well, he wouldn't have saved him or potentially sacrificed himself if he hadn't thought he was in. So yeah. And saying he was a good man the same way that Jack had said, I knew your father, and I'm the only one who didn't call him Bootstrap, or one of the only ones.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we glossed past that, but there was another conversation, I can't remember who it was with, where they told the little story about how Jack was or how Bootstrap was not happy with the way they treated Jack. So you knew there was like a mutual respect going on between them.
Yeah, I think that might have been the same time that Gibbs was telling Will the story of how Jack was marooned and then subsequently escaped the island.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think you're right.
that part we missed. Okay. Rescues Jack. And then jumps off. Jack jumps off into the water. And Elizabeth tries to protect Will. But they end up Norrington ends up saying, well, Jen just said that you can be a pirate and an honorable man at the same time.
I think that's one of the quotes or one of the lines from the movie that she brought up.
Is
I
that
don't
one of the
remember where.
quotes?
Yeah, I think that's what one of them says.
So then Norrington understands that Elizabeth will never be in love with him. So he tells Will something about the quality of the sword and the amount of effort that went into him becoming that good of a blacksmith. You better put that much effort into protecting and being a husband to Elizabeth.
Right.
So Norrington was an honorable man too.
Yeah. Yes, he was in the end. I think the words he used were the care and devotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the same amount of care and devotion.
And then they want to know, what do we do about Jack? And he says, well, I think we can give him a day's head start.
Mm-hmm.
He was, after all, touted as being the best pirate hunter.
Right.
So he thinks he's going to be able to catch up to Jack, but Jack's too good. So Jack gets back on board his ship, and Anna Maria gives him the captain's jacket, and basically handing the ship back to Jack. So now Jack is back in charge of the Black Pearl. Here endeth the lesson. Is there any final thoughts? Any more quotes or anything that stuck out that you like?
At the end, when I think it was the father that was asking Elizabeth, like, are you sure that this is what you want to do? He is, after all, a blacksmith. And she said, no, he's a pirate. I thought that was funny.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a bonus scene after the credits. Do you guys remember that?
I don't think I watched it.
So there's a bonus scene after the credits, at the very, very end, just like a Marvel movie. And they're back in the cave where Barbossa's body is laying on the treasure heap. And the monkey swims to the little island of treasure where Barbossa is. And he kind of monkeys around up there, and then he grabs a coin out of the chest and backs up into the moonlight, and he's a skeleton monkey again. And then he's holding the coin up and he goes, ah! And he comes right at the camera, like to make you jump. So it's like skeleton face, monkey face.
I don't think I ever watched the end.
Yeah, go all the way to the end of the credits. It's just like less than 30 seconds, maybe. It's a really short scene, but yeah, there's that extra. And so
stick around for them. But those credits are like 20 minutes long or something. They're ridiculously long.
I think that I only found it because I let the movie play while I was doing something. And so by the time the credits were going, I was still doing something, and I ended up waiting around and seeing that final scene. But if you watch the other movies, I don't know how far ahead they scripted out all the movies, or if kind of kept the story rolling as it rolled. But that's also a foreshadow because what is it in the second or the third movie when Barbossa comes back? Like they kind of allude to the monkey going back to his body because he knows he's still alive. Yeah, it's not real long, and it's not super significant unless you look at it that way. Well, Jen says that she has not seen that end scene either.
There he is. He's cute. So, thank you guys. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
I
Yeah,
think this
thanks
was a
for
lot
the
of
invite.
fun.
Come here, darling. How about one last thing?
Sure.
I didn't realize until I watched it a couple days ago that I forget her last name, Zoe Zendala, that was her in that movie.
Saldana. Yeah.
Saw that.
Yeah. It didn't look like her to me.
Was that the Anna Maria pirate?
Yep. Yeah. Jen said it's lagging for her too.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I guess we can call it a night. Thank you so much. And I've got other sets, other movies.
Too.
We still got to finish this too. I'll just leave it where it's at, halfway done, and we'll be able to get to finishing it the next time we do a Pirates movie. You guys want to join in? That's great. I thank you once again.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
oh, looks like I lost the camera. If you like this content, hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit subscribe. If you want to be notified when it's going to happen, hit the bell. Thanks again, guys. Chris, Jessica, and I am Theron. And thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.